Hava Kunja Vihare Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihare Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivana Dari Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivana Dari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihare Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihare Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivana Dari Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivana Dari Yasodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yasodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihare Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivana Dari Yasodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yasodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Tira Jamuna Tira Vanachari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. His Divine Grace to the HG Bhakti Swami, Srila Prabhupada Ki, Anantakoti Vaishnava Ki Jai, Namacharya, Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai, ISKCON Founder Acharya, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Prem Sukha Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar, Srivasati Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai, Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath, Shyamakun, Radhakun, Giri Govardhan Ki Jai, Shri Vrindavan Ki Jai, Shri Maya Purnavidam Ki Jai, Gangamaya Ki Jai, Jamunamaya Ki Jai, Tulsi Devi Ki Jai, Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Somaveda Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai, Transcendental Book Distribution Ki Jai, Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai, Gau Premanandi, all glorious summer devotees, all glorious summer devotees, all glorious summer devotees, all glorious Shri Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So this morning we're reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, Chapter 25, text number 26. 525, 26? Because here it only goes to 15, text 15. 524, 26. There we go. Tashimahanubhavasyan bhatan amritya kashaya ko vasmad vidha parihina bhagavad anugraha upajji gamistiti. Please repeat. Tasya of Prahlad Maharaj. Mahanubhavasya, who was an exalted devotee. Anupatam, the path. Amrityakusaya, a person who is materially contaminated. Ka, what? Va, or. Asmatvidaha, like us. Parihina Bhagavat Anugraha, being without the favor of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, desires to follow. Oh, excuse me. Upaji Gamisati, desires to follow. Iti, thus. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace. Srila Prabhupada Ki. Bali Maharaja said, persons like us who are still attached to material enjoyment, who are contaminated by the modes of material nature, and who lack the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, cannot follow the supreme path of Prahlad Maharaj, the exalted devotee of the Lord. Purport. It is said that for spiritual realization, one must follow great personalities like Lord Brahma, Devarsi Narada, Lord Shiva, and Prahlad Maharaj. The path of bhakti is not at all difficult if we follow in the footsteps of previous acharyas and authorities, but those who are too materially contaminated by the modes of material nature cannot follow them. Although Bali Maharaj was actually following the path of his grandfather, because of his great humility, he thought that he was not. It is characteristic of advanced Vaishnavas following the principles of bhakti that they think themselves ordinary human beings. This is not an artificial exhibition of humility. A Vaishnava sincerely thinks this way and therefore never admits his exalted position. Om Jnana Tamanandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshum Malitam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Mukram Kotavatalang Pangun Lang Hayate Garim Yat Kripataraham Vande Sri Gurum Dinataranam Vanchikapatubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Prabhupada says in this purport that devotees of the Lord have a great humility, and therefore they never think themselves to be very advanced. And this is the position of Bali Maharaj here. He was actually very advanced because he offered everything. He had won the heavenly kingdom, but he gave it back. He gave it to Krishna. And he's one of the personalities, as it's mentioned here in the purport. Prabhupada says, if we follow in the footsteps of great personalities like Lord Brahma, Devarsi Narada, Lord Shiva, Prahlad Maharaj, and Bali Maharaj is also one of them. There's the Mahajans, Swayambhur, Narada, Shambhu, Kumara, Kapila, Manu, Palada, Janaka, Bhismo, Balir, Vasikir, Vayam. There's these great devotees who we can follow in the footsteps of. And the first one here is Lord Brahma. Now, Lord Brahma, he's a great personality. He's the manager of the universe, practically. But he, although he's so exalted, we can learn from his mistake. He made a little mistake during the pastimes of Krishna. He thought Krishna was an ordinary person. He had heard some of the things of the glories of Krishna. He thought, what is this? You know. So he tested him. He took away the cowherd boys and the calves, and then he went back. He just went, put them up in his abode there, and came back, and they're still there. So he's like, whoa, what's this? How did this happen? And he went back, and they were still there. And then, it's an amazing pastime, one of the most amazing pastimes in Krishna's Leela. He came back, they're still there, and then they manifest Vishnu forms. Like, whoa. And then he thought, I made a big mistake here. Big mistake. So he offered prayers, the prayers of Lord Brahma. Wonderful, wonderful prayers there in the Srimad Bhagavatam. He understood his insignificant position next to Krishna. He thought he could pull his mystic powers on him. But Krishna, he is Yatra Yogeshvara Krishna. He's the master of all mysticism. So he's like a fig compared to Krishna. But he thought he was an ordinary person. Like so many, even when Krishna was here, Prabhupada said only a handful understood the position of Krishna. Very few. The Pandavas understood. Very few understood. And in Dwarka, that amazing pastime of the Sangvartika, of the jewel. What was the name of that jewel? Shamantaka, the jewel. Satyajit, he was worshipping the sun god, and he got this jewel. And when he was coming to the city, everybody thought the sun god himself had come because he was so effulgent. And when they told Krishna, Krishna, the sun god has come to see you. Krishna thought, it's okay. He knew it was a Satyajit. So Krishna told him, you should give this to Ugrasen. Ugrasen, he was the king, so he should get whatever nice comes, it should be given to the king. But he was attached. He wouldn't do it. It was producing 170 pounds of gold every day. So he was a little attached. So then Prasena, his brother, took this jewel, put it on his neck, and he was riding around, with this jewel, feeling pretty good with himself, And then he's out he's out, riding around the forest, and a lion attacks him, kills him. And then, who was the person that came?
He took the jewel.
Yeah, the lion took the jewel. Then who killed the lion? Jambavan. He saw that jewel. He wanted that jewel. Give it to his son. He didn't even want it himself. He was actually a great devotee. So then rumor got around in Dwarka that Krishna had killed Prasena and taken the jewel. And it's described, Prabhupada meant it spread like wildfire, that Krishna killed Prasena to get the jewel, thinking Krishna's just an ordinary person. Yeah, there was no Facebook, no internet. It spread like wildfire somehow. So Krishna, Prabhupada explains that Krishna didn't want to be defamed, so he went and he solved the problem. What happened was, Jambavan had taken it, so then Krishna went to take it, and he fought with Jambavan 28 days. Jambavan, he was the most powerful person on the planet. It's huge. He was around at the time of Lord Ram. He's also very old, very powerful. But after 28 days, he thought, well, I can't beat this person. He was completely exhausted, and the limbs were broken practically. And then he understood, not an ordinary person. This is not an ordinary person. He understood. This is my Lord. Yeah. So he offered again. He also offered beautiful pears to Krishna. Yeah. So if we were to see Krishna, would we understand that this is actually Krishna? So many saw Krishna, couldn't understand, even in Dwarka. So to understand, janma karma chame divyang evanyo viti tattvata tiktva deham punarjuna naitamam iti sojana. That one who understands the transcendental nature of my appearance and activities does not, upon leaving his body, take his birth again in this material world. So it's not easy to understand the position of Krishna. And in another way that we learned from Lord Brahma's mistake, he's actually a great devotee. He made a few. He went after his daughter for sex. So, not good. The sex desire is such an obnoxious desire that even one will go to one's own daughter, such an exalted devotee. Yeah, it's the main contamination in the material world, this bodily conception of life, that through this sex desire I'll get some satisfaction. And people engage in so much sinful activity to try to get this try to satisfy this itching. It's an itch. Yeah. But just like if we get an itch, here in San Diego, you don't get many mosquito bites. I've gotten one since I've been here. I got one. In Miami, we used to get them all the time. Probably in North Carolina too, or Alachua, yeah, Alachua. A lot of mosquitoes. They carry you away practically. Prabhupada was talking about this and said, Krishna's so kind. He just makes the mosquitoes, very small. What if Krishna made them this big? He'd go in and suck all the blood out of you. But Krishna just makes them just so they're tolerable. You can tolerate them. But when they come, when you get bit, and you find out, you might scratch it once, but then someone who's a little bright, you don't scratch it again. That's a mosquito bite. Because otherwise you just keep scratching and scratching and scratching. And I've seen devotees in Miami, they get a lot of mosquitoes, and they're scratching, and eventually blood. Yeah, blood comes out. They just can't tolerate the scratch. But if you just tolerate it, it goes away. It goes away. And believe it or not, sex desire will go away. Got to tolerate it. Along with that, we got to get the higher taste. Not just tolerate it. You can't. That's not enough. We got to get the higher taste of Krishna consciousness, and this will satisfy the soul. Sex desire doesn't satisfy the soul. It's a function of the body. Just like the animals, they're having sex too. It's the same. Yeah. They're having the same feeling. There's some pleasure there, but it's just temporary, illusory. It's not real. I mean, it's not the real happiness that the soul is searching for. So Swayambhur Narada Muni. So in this purport, Prabhupada says that we can learn from these great souls. So Narada Muni, he's my favorite. Narada Muni is like, in the Srimad Bhagavatam, he says, Shruto nipatito dhyata, advato vanamodita. That pure devotional service is so spiritually purifying, so spiritually potent, that simply by hearing about devotional service, simply by chanting the glories of devotional service, simply by meditating on the glories of pure devotional service, or appreciating the pure devotional service of others, even if one hates everyone, immediately becomes purified. I mean, that's pretty low consciousness to hate everybody, right? But if you appreciate pure devotional service, you become purified immediately. This is Niranjana Swami's favorite verse in the Bhagavatam. That's Shruto nipatito dhyata. Shruto. Yeah. Prabhupada, Shruti Kirti, he said, Shruti Kirti is too long. I'll just call you Shruto. Like we all get shortened names pretty much. I remember Davida used to call, Vijaya isn't, you can't shorten that much. He used to call me V. I mean, that's really shortened. Everybody gets a shortened name. So, yeah, Narada Muni, he's another, and there's so many nice verses I appreciate by Narada Muni. He says, "Ya vache ya dhainyam." An intelligent person will cultivate utter humility with his thoughts, with his words, and his actions. And anything that gets in the way of that should be rejected. Powerful statement there. An intelligent person will cultivate utter humility with his thoughts, words, and actions. And anything that gets in the way of that should be rejected. So humility is so important. Not just our actions or thoughts, but everything, our words, actions, thoughts, everything. Just the humility, this is the crown jewel of devotional service. Yeah. It's not easy. In this age of Kali, the pauper is proud of his penny. You get proud so easily. Yeah. So something we can pray for. Humility. And another one that he says, Mahadbir Bhakti Nistaisha Nasvati Neti Manyate. Devotees of the Lord do not think that the services they do are actions under their own control, but they are expressions of Krishna's supreme mercy. Beautiful, huh? This is Narada Muni. Devotees of the Lord do not think the services they do are actions under their own control, but they are expressions of Krishna's supreme mercy. This way you don't get proud. It's Krishna's mercy. I always think it's Krishna's mercy. It has nothing to do with me. Yeah. If we always think like that, then we can go on, full-on devotional service. Everything that happens is by the mercy of Krishna. Yeah. It's like that amazing pastime of the king with his servant, and the servant was, the secretary was very Krishna conscious, and whatever happened was, oh, Krishna's mercy, oh, Krishna's mercy, and then he cut his thumb or something, oh, Krishna's mercy, and the king said, oh, Krishna's mercy, all right. He told his guard, put him in jail. Krishna's mercy, if that's Krishna's mercy. And what did he say? Oh, Krishna's mercy. So Krishna conscious. Beyond dualities. In the Bhagavad Gita, it's amazing how many times Prabhupada and Krishna, they mention this. Beyond dualities. Yeah. And we become attached to the results. Yeah, we want a certain result. We don't get it. We become disturbed. It's because we're overwhelmed by dualities. The whole world is overwhelmed by dualities, happiness and distress, heat and cold, honor, dishonor. So much duality in this world. But a devotee is beyond duality. Everything is Krishna's mercy. Everything is good. Everything Krishna arranges is good. Yeah. It's amazing. Huh? Like that was the Grateful Dead's slogan. It's all good. Yeah. Until Jerry left, yeah, it was so. And then the king wanted to go on. He used to go on these hunting excursions, and he would usually being a secretary, but the secretary was in jail. I'll just go by myself. He got caught by these dacoits, and they were going to make a human offering, yeah, to Goddess Durga. I wonder if they still do these things. Yeah? They still do that. Oh my God, they still do it. It still goes on. So they had him all tied up there, getting ready to make a nice offering to Durga, and then someone noticed he's got a cut thumb. His imperfect offering. Untie him, get him out of here. So he's running through the forest, yeah. It was Krishna's mercy, it was Krishna's mercy. It was Krishna's mercy. He went right to the secretary and said, hey, you were right, it was Krishna's mercy. I got tied up by these dacoits that were going to offer me to Durga, and they let me go because they had a cut thumb. You were right, it was Krishna's mercy. And then the secretary said, I told you, everything is Krishna's mercy. Everything is Krishna's mercy. It's all good. So then the king said, but why is it Krishna's mercy? You're in jail. And the secretary said, I don't have any cut faint thumbs. So, all right, good point. So yeah, everything is Krishna's mercy. Another nice one by Narada Muni. He says, Asantustasya viprasya tejo vidya tapoyasaha. If one is not satisfied in Krishna consciousness, then eventually asantustasya viprasya tejo, one loses one's spiritual potency, one's spiritual Shakti, if we're not satisfied in Krishna consciousness. And we've seen it. There was, like Prabhupada, when he left these 11 personalities to be gurus. And they were all powerful. You know all of them, Judah knows, I know all of them too. They were all powerful, amazing. And lectures are just like, phew. I mean, sometimes I'd be astounded, like, wow, that was incredible. But so many, they weren't satisfied. And they lost their spiritual strength. It's actually so sad to see that. It was a tragedy. Somehow, because Prabhupada set it up so nicely, we survived. The movement survived. But yeah, to be satisfied, that's one of the austerities of the mind. Mana prasadak somyatvam, monam atma vinigraha, bhava sangsir itete, topo manasam uchyate. These are the 5 austerities of the mind. First one, to be satisfied in Krishna consciousness. It's an austerity of the mind. Because the mind just wants to enjoy. That's the mood of the mind, just enjoy material life. But to control the mind, to be satisfied, chanting Hare Krishna, serving Krishna, engaging in the regulated principles of devotional service. This is very, very good, and we have to keep the mind under control. Manapasara Somi, to be honest. Not only to be honest with others, but to be honest with ourselves. Sometimes we might have this air about ourselves that we're some big devotee. But a big devotee never thinks he's a big devotee. A big devotee never thinks he's advanced. Like Krishnadas Kaviraj, he said, he thought himself lower than the worm in stool. Anybody who chants his names loses all pious credit. He's one of the most exalted persons on the planet at the time. Yeah. But he just thought himself so low, insignificant. This is a devotee. So we might be wondering, well, I don't feel like I'm advancing. Just like that amazing pastime of Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. 3 devotees went to him and said, we decided to leave because we don't feel like we're making any progress in our spiritual life. And Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he was so happy. I'm so happy to hear that. If you came to me and said, we're doing really good in our spiritual life, and I want to thank you for inspiring us, and we feel like we're really advancing in spiritual life, he probably would have lamented hearing that. But he said, no, you're doing good. That means that you're advancing. A devotee never thinks he's advanced. That's good. That's healthy. You don't feel like you're advancing. That's good. That's not unhealthy. That's good. Continue on. And eventually you'll think yourself lower and lower. But you'll also think Krishna is the greatest. So they all stayed. They were inspired. Oh, okay. So we're doing good, actually. So this is a devotee. Lord Shiva. Swayambhur Narada Sambhu. Lord Shiva. What can we learn from Lord Shiva? The Prabhupada mentions that Lord Shiva, he was so self-controlled that there was one instance where the demigods needed a warrior, a powerful kshatriya. So they were thinking, well, if we could get someone from Lord Shiva, the son of Lord Shiva. So they coerced one girl to go and agitate him. It was Parvati, right? Yeah, Parvati. She's touching his genitals, and he's not disturbed. He continues his meditation. That's called dhira. That's like amazing. So this is Lord Shiva. He's self-controlled. Vaishnavanam Yasa Shambhu. He's the greatest Vaishnava. Such a great Vaishnava. It's like when Daksha was criticizing him and just deriding him in so many ways. He just tolerated it. And then, but his servants, his followers, they cursed. They were cursing the followers of Daksha, and Daksha's follower, there was cursing going back and forth. Just so much cursing. And finally, Lord Shiva just got up and walked out. He was just like, this is terrible, this is useless. So he just walked out. He's tolerant, Lord Shiva. The Kumaras, Swayambhur Narada Sambhu Kumara. The Kumaras, what can we learn from the Kumaras? The Kumaras were some of the first, if not the first. Were they the first? No, Lord Brahma's first. Were they the first sons? I think they're the first sons. He wanted them to be progenitors because there was no one in the universe. But they didn't want to. They were very intelligent. They didn't want to get older than 5 years old, because once you get over 5, sex desire starts moving in, but up to then there's no sex desire. So they just decided to stay 5 years old. That's why they're always 5 years old, because they didn't want to. That's why they're the Kumaras. Yeah, they didn't want to experience that pushing of sex desire. Just like we all had that experience. We're just playing young, and all of a sudden this sex desire comes, like getting hit by a truck. What's that? And it just causes so much disturbance, in a person's life. So they didn't want to deal with that, Kumaras, and they're very in the Bhagavatam. There's so many verses. There's in the 11th canto. There's a whole chapter, right? The Kumaras preaching. But yeah, in the 11th canto, there's so much of the Kumaras preaching. Very powerful, very powerful. In Kapila Dev, so much to learn from Kapila Dev. The most famous verse of Kapila Dev: Tatikshiva karunika surda sarvadehina ajata sattvata santa sadhava sadhabhushana. Such an important verse. That if we want to advance in spiritual life, we have to be tolerant. Tatikshiva. And if we're tolerant, then we can be compassionate. Tatikshiva, therefore karunika. If we're not tolerant, then how can we be compassionate? It's not possible. So important. And to be compassionate. Tatikshiva karuna surda, and then friend to everyone. If you're compassionate to others, then you find you're a friend to everyone. You see, everyone is a spirit soul. Everyone is part of Krishna. Friendly towards everyone. In so many places in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that he sees friends and enemies as the same, because he sees the soul. He looks beyond the body. It's like, was it Jesus Christ said that hate the sin, not the sinner. Hate the sin, not the sinner. There's another saying that for every saint there was a past, and every sinner there's a future. Right? So many of the saintly devotees, so many sannyasis in our movement, you don't want to look at their past. But they're doing such nice service. Sinners, but then they became great devotees. Tatikshiva karunika surda sarva ajata sattvata santa. They don't see anyone as an enemy. Who is the best example of that? Yudhisthira. He had no enemy. Although he's fighting in the battle of Kurukshetra. But he's just doing his duty. There's no enmity towards anyone. He's just doing his duty of stopping the evil of Duryodhana and company. But there was no personal animosity towards anyone. So this is Yudhisthira. He became the king. Imagine having a king like Yudhisthira. So, Swayambhur Narada Sambhu Kumara Kapila Munu Prahlado Prahlad. Oh, actually, Kapila Dev. There's one other very famous verse by Kapila Dev, which is in two places in the Bhagavatam. Nata tasya bhavat klesho bandaschanya prasangataha. He says, of all types of suffering and bondage that arise due to material contact, none is greater than the suffering and bondage that a person experiences in the association of the opposite sex. There is no greater suffering than that. For the man or for the woman. It's like men, they commit suicide. The lady leaves them. I mean, I've seen unbelievable experiences in the airport. I'm in the airport on book distribution, you really see it, especially the airport. In the park, things are, nice and calm and mellow and peaceful. But in the airport, oh my God! I approached this one guy. Man, he looked really upset. But I thought, anyway, looks like he needs a book. He said to me, even if you punched me in the face as hard as you couldn't make me feel any worse than I do right now. I said, oh my God, what happened, man? I've been married to a woman for 25 years and she just ran off with another man. Man, he was upset. Just, and just a few days later, I approached another guy. He said, no, I'm in a hurry. My wife just emptied my bank account and she went back to her country in the Philippines. I'm trying to catch her before she just... That's it. I'm like, wow, man. I was thinking... Yeah. I was thinking, Brahmachari life ki jai. I was like, wow. You really see the suffering. So this is material life. You know, there's so much anxiety. You know. But everybody's thinking this will be the great happiness, having a nice family, kids, you know, wife or husband. But so much. Oh man, you go on and on. You know. So much suffering. I'll tell you one more that really shocked me. The Prabhupada disciple, he was married to this lady, and she kept on telling him, "You should go on a vacation. You know? Take it easy. You've been working so hard. You know, take it easy." And she would, you know, occasionally mention that to him, and he said, "Yeah, maybe in the future." You know? And she kept on. Finally, he said, "All right, yeah, I'm going on vacation." And, you know, went off for a week, came back, and everything in the house was gone. Everything. Took everything. He was like shocked. So that was her way of finishing the relationship, you know. And of course they got divorced. And then she tried to get the house too. It's like, oh yeah, it was just like amazing. So this is, yeah.
A quick comment. It's not just you know, that the expansions of the sex desire. There was a devotee in Alatra. I'm not going to mention his name. I used to visit there twice a year, you know. And he was a godbrother of mine. And I saw him once. And I said, "Oh, you look kind of unhappy. What's happened? You know, you look distressed." "Yeah, my son stole $60,000 from me. Took off."
Oh my God!
You know, he had trusted in some business thing. He had the account. You know, boom, he's gone.
Wow.
That's another.
Yeah. In Canada, there was a family, husband, wife, boy, girl, and at one point, the mother just disappeared. No one had a clue, just disappeared. And the police got involved, and for like a year, they're trying to, what happened? So finally, they kind of didn't know what, they just let it go. But then another year or two later, they thought, well, we should investigate more. So one undercover policeman befriended the girl, became a boyfriend of the girl. So he says, after a while, he says, "I see your father. Where's your mother?" Trying to find out. He said, "Oh, she's out. I can't tell you." And he just left it at that. And then they got a little closer and had a little better relationship. He said, "What happened to your mother?" He said, "Don't tell anybody." My brother killed her. The brother killed the mother. Of course, then they caught him and put him in jail. And he became the leader of while he was in jail, he became the leader of the mafia in Vancouver. While he was in jail. And he was a nice boy. He played mridanga. He could cook a little bit. You know, he chanted. He grew up in the Gurukul. Yeah. Huh? He was a devotee. Yeah. Yeah. So it was a devotee family. So, material life. You never know. Yeah. So then Prahlad Maharaj, whew, Prahlad Maharaj learned so much from Prahlad Maharaj. What's the most famous verse? That's the next one. Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu, Smaranam Padase, Archanam Vandanam Dasham, Sakyam Atma Nivedanam. This verse is like our life. Yeah? This is how all the different ways that we can engage in devotional service. And what's interesting is that there's three people that are in this, because in each of these different types of service, there's one person who's the best at it. And then there's also this verse here, as Prabhupada mentions, Swayambhur Narada. There's only 3 people that are in both. Bali Maharaj, Prahlad Maharaj, and Sukadeva Goswami. 2 of them are born, they're descendants of Hiranyakashipu. It's pretty amazing. So, hearing about Krishna, to constantly hear about Krishna. It says, it's mentioned in the Bhagavatam, for a long time, we have to hear about Krishna for a long time. Nice example is given that in the snow-capped mountains, there's a lot of snow. When summer comes around, the sun comes and it's melting the layers, different layers of snow. So suddenly, by this sun-like hearing about Krishna, again and again, all these layers of the modes of nature, gradually, they dwindle. So eventually, there's just Krishna, just the desire to serve Krishna. So we have to hear long, long, long time. Purify, you got to purify this rascal mind. Such a rascal. So Shravanam, Kirtanam, then we hear, then we chant. You hear something nice, it's like people ask me, what are you doing this for? Why are you do? Yes, I've received something nice. This knowledge is nice. I want to share it with you. You get something nice, you want to share it with others naturally. There are old friends, trying to share the wisdom with others. It's what is most needed. That's another thing. This is wisdom, and this is what is most needed in society right now, is wisdom. So Kirtan, Shravana Kirtana Vishnu, Smarana, then remember it. Smartavya Saratang Vishnu, Vishnartavjana Jatuchit. That most important instructions in all the Vedas. Remember Krishna, don't forget him. So by this hearing and this chanting, this helps us to remember Krishna. And this is what's so nice about the Hare Krishna mantra. We're chanting our rounds, and we find that, because of this, that's 2 hours, that's a lot of chanting, So that creates a momentum, so that throughout the day we're able to remember Krishna. And Prabhupada said minimum. And I think there's some gurus, they tell their disciples 25 rounds on Ekadasi. More chanting. So Shravanam Kirtan Vishnu Smaranam Pada Sevanam, worshipping the lotus feet of the Lord. Just like we have this Julan Yatra, so we're worshipping the lotus feet of the Lord. Such a nice thing that we do every year. Archanam. Archanam, who was the best? Archana means worshipping the deity. Who was the best at worshipping the deity? Prithu. Yeah, actually we should go through it. Shravanam, who was the best at hearing? All right, you know all of them. Shravanam, Kirtanam, who was the best at Kirtanam, chanting? Huh? Sukadeva Goswami. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, remembering. Prahlad.
Prahlad Maharaj.
Yeah. From the internet. All right, very good. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Pada Sevanam. Who was the best at worshiping the Lord? The feet of the Lord. Lakshmi Devi.
Lakshmi Devi.
Archanam. You get that, Pritama. Vandanam. Who was the best at offering prayers? Akrura, which is amazing. Because Akrura, he really disturbed the gopis. Nobody disturbed the gopis more than Akrura. And they said, why do they call you Akrura? Your name should be Krura, which means cruel. But he was the best at offering prayers. That's there in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Yeah, beautiful prayers. Archanam Vandanam Dasyam. Archanam Vandanam Dasyam. So who was the best at serving?
Hanumanji.
So Dasyam, Shravana Kirtan Vishnu, no. Padase, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakyam. Who was The best friend.
Arjun,
All right, I know, you know them all. Don't say the last one. Who is the best at offering everything, surrendering everything? Bali Maharaj. Yeah, we're reading about him now. And that's who we could learn. That's what we could learn from Bali Maharaj. He offered everything to Krishna. Yeah. He had practically the whole universe, or just the heavenly planet. Heavenly planets. I mean, he had a lot. And as Guru said, don't do it. Don't give. This is Vishnu. He's going to take everything. But he had such integrity. No, I offered it. Take it. So then he got Krishna. So maybe we'll stop there. Any question or comment? Yeah.
There's no more bondage and no more misery.
Yeah.
That, like you said, that appears twice.
Mm-hmm.
But the second one is by Krishna himself in the 11th canto.
Oh.
But he changes one word. One is natatasa bhavein moho bandhas. There's no more bewilderment or bondage than you get from associating with women or those who are attached to women.
That's
and
Krishna.
Krishna says natatasa bhavein klesho. There's no more, you get more misery. One is bondage, one is misery.
Actually, there was one thing that we could learn also from Sukadeva Goswami. We could learn so much from Sukadeva Goswami, right? So he says, Salankru Shishya Bhagavan Vachangsi Me. He says that, please, my dear Lord, decorate my words with your presence. Yeah. So that I could speak in a way that is beneficial for myself and for others. He says, decorate my words. So he's speaking the Bhagavatam. He's praying to Krishna, please decorate my words with your presence. I do say that. It's such a nice verse. Anything else? Yes. Vaikuntha Prabhu.
I guess the next one would have been Janaka and the Mahajans. And I haven't heard as much about him. I mean, I see his father.
Oh yeah, Janaka.
Things like that. But once in Alatra, Bhadri Prabhu was giving class, and he told this amazing pastime about Janaka Maharaj. He was actually going back to the spiritual world, like leaving the earth, and he was chanting the names of Lord Ram. And as he was passing, because he's such an exalted soul, as he was passing, somehow he was passing Yamaloka, and all of the people that were suffering there because of their previous sinful activities, just by his passing, they suddenly just felt this great relief. And they looked up and they saw this great personality, and they were all like crying, calling out to him, please, they just felt such a relief. And he heard these voices, and he came down, and then he felt so much compassion for these people, so then he just immediately wanted to, stay there and let them all be delivered and let him suffer in their place, and then, all of a sudden Yamaraj heard this great personality showed up and, came out, and the whole discussion was there, and he said, no, you don't have to do that. He said, just by one utterance, your pure utterance of the holy name, they're all delivered from all their sins. So it was a sweet pastime.
Wow. Yeah, nice. Thank
Probably
you.
from one of the Puranas. I don't know, but Bhadra Prabhu told it. It was a nice.
The devotees are so kind. Therefore, this Davida mentioned this verse: "Naivod Vijaya Puraduratya Vaitaranya Tvadvirya Gayana Mahamrita Bhakti Nitya." That Prahlad Maharaj, he says, I have no anxiety, no problem in my life, but I am concerned out of love for all the unfortunate souls who are attracted to this Maya Sukhaya, this illusory happiness. I am concerned out of love for them. So this is a devotee. He's happy. It's amazing. He's happy, but he's distressed at the same time. At the same time, he's happy because he's a devotee. He's serving Krishna. But at the same time, he sees so much suffering, so that gives distress. It's like people want to be happy, but the best way to be happy is to help others be happy. Isn't Prahlad Maharaj says that as soon as you try to be happy yourself, distress begins or something like that. Yeah. Okay, Vijay Krishna, you have anything there?
Yes, Vijay Prabhu Dandavat Pranams, you're very kind. My question is, can you give us at least one symptom that shows that the living entity already got the mercy of the Lord?
A symptom that he's gotten the mercy of the Lord. If one is humble, if someone is humble, if humility is there, then that's a sign that they got the mercy of Krishna. It's a rare quality in this world, to be humble.
Generally in the material world, people are arrogant, no?
Yeah. Yes, yes. As I mentioned, the pauper is proud of his penny. It's very difficult to be humble in this age, in other ages also. So that's a symptom. It's like when Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami, they went to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Now these were very great personalities. They were home ministers and prime minister, and very intelligent, very exalted personalities. But what did Sanatana Goswami and Rupa Goswami? They went there with straw between their teeth, exhibiting their humility. And Sanatana Goswami said, Kayami. People say that I'm very exalted, I'm very educated, but I do not know who I am. Kayami, who am I? They think I'm so exalted, but I don't know who I am. Please, who am I? What? Very humble. Yeah. Very exalted, very powerful, but very, very humble. Yeah.
You look for the person who's totally addicted to glorifying Krishna and serving Krishna.
Yeah, okay.
And is absolutely repulsed by all kinds of sense gratification. That person's got the mercy of the Lord.
That's the mercy. Addicted to, just like there's devotees that are just addicted to distributing books, like Parameswar. He doesn't take a day off. His day off is when he's driving from one spot to another to distribute books. That's his day off. Yeah. So he's addicted to distributing Prabhupada's books. He just loves it. Yeah. So yeah, to be addicted to serving Krishna. That's a good sign. That's a very good sign that one has received the mercy.
Vijay Prabhu, what about addiction to devotees, liking to be in the association of devotees? That is also a sign that we already got the mercy of Lord Krishna?
Yeah, that's another very good sign, to be addicted to the association of devotees. We shouldn't. Sometimes devotees they associate with non-devotees. I can't understand. They regularly go to their families and see their families. I mean, of course, we're respectful to our families, but they're non-devotees, and they could rub off. And it's an illusory. It's not a real family. This is a real family. So yeah, we should be addicted to association with devotees and Krishna. Yeah. That means we receive the mercy of Krishna. Yes. Okay.
Okay, Prabhu, thank you very much. As to be expected, very helpful, outstanding answer to my question. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.